Okay, so I think I found the proper introduction for this legal series. Just watching something on um, the legal system based off of an old case and stuff. So um, I think this is a good introduction. So for every possible action a person can make, including for what they say, there's a cost and benefit to it. That's analyzable and stuff. There's things like game theory and stuff, and other ways of analyzing impact over time. Uh, there's an impact and stuff, meaning that once that action is committed and stuff, there's sure things that are taken away and given and stuff. There's variables, they go up and down and stuff, or those changes are made and stuff, because the things we do change circumstance and change what is doable by expenditure and by the changes in people, things, ideas, and stuff. And then there's reaction mechanisms all around us, and um, many types of mechanisms. And there's at least one human responder and stuff. And with these reaction mechanisms, so sometimes they're more like a powder keg, sometimes they're a hair trigger, sometimes it's like a virtual mechanism and stuff. Maybe something doesn't agree with a logic or a belief system, and so on. Um, in the realm of the hypothetical and virtual and stuff, all of that stuff fizzles out on its own. But a person who is, thinking, um, is thinking something crazy or whatever is probably is um is it's a telltale of something stuff. And then um but the extent that this process goes on, this process of reaction and how the reaction actually manifests, it can go on for a lifetime and stuff. um this is why a person needs to be extremely careful with what they say and do, and why it's important to know the rules of life. And the rules of life don't aren't just the law and stuff. The concept of law and stuff is something that creates that varies into different manifestations and stuff. It manifests itself in how the legal system, how it's written, how it actually works and stuff, and how life and people around you and things react to your behavior, what your circumstances become in the future and stuff. Um, so from and I think the source of the variation in in like a in a trying to in attempting to look at it from a purely logical progression and stuff is about um, variations on how the pieces of circumstance move, and the other factors like time, energy, and stuff. Um, Science backs me up on this. Like, reality is very fluid and stuff. Virtual logics like math are not, much less so. Those that's part of a stream of information that comes from an inconceivably all-knowing source above reality and stuff. Some call it God, some call it networks of Boltzmann brains and stuff, but it's all essentially the same thing. Um, so, uh, so, so it. But thinking about the consequences of what you intend and what you're going to do, it pays an insurance in the least and stuff, because you could avoid so many headaches and stuff, and so creating so many problems. And if a person's good enough at understanding these consequences and stuff, they can manage the risks and actually end up leaving the circumstance much better than how they entered and stuff. So not everybody needs to fall into one vocation or way of being and stuff. They still have to, you know, understand the facts and then answer circumstance with it. Um, and there's a lot of room for playing creativity there. So um, if it so in the least it's going to pay in that insurance, and then you know within those realms of possibilities, you realize all sorts of benefits. You know, a person could become a rags to riches billionaire. A person can, you know, meet the love of their life and stay with them and stuff. A person can come back from a seriously intensive illness and stuff. You know, there's so many. I think there's, you know, life or reality affords so much, especially for somebody who lives in the United States. We are all extremely lucky to be here. Um, so yeah, I think this is a good introduction and stuff. Um, kind of answering like what is law and stuff, starting from the, you know, encapsulating in broad enough category, and going into, um, you know, just what I'm fairly authorized to tell you and stuff, respecting the boundaries of the legal professions, and of course not getting myself in legal trouble by making false claims about the law. So it takes a lot of careful word choice and stuff, and careful figuring and interpretation. So yeah.